Chapter 7. Raphael and Jara. Following this transaction, the servants were already bringing wine and bread and a large number of well-prepared fish, and all took their place at the brimming table. Jara pulls our Raphael over to the table, putting a large fish in front of him to eat. But Raphael says, "Dear sister, this is too much for a supper. Therefore, serve me a smaller fish." Says Jara, "Oh, did I not see you eat several such fish at lunch? And so you shall be able to cope with this one tonight. Just eat. Behold, my Lord Jesus surely is an endlessly greater and exalted spirit than you, and yet he is already eating the second fish with visible appetite, drinking wine and taking bread with it. Do so yourself. You happen to be human among us, and must not put down our humanity on account of being one of the foremost angels of God." Says Raphael, "Well, if you insist, then I shall have to accommodate your request. For are you not a most kind child, and one cannot refuse you anything for sheer love?" After which, Raphael takes the 5-pound-plus fish into his hands, moving it to his mouth and consuming it in a hardly believable short moment. On seeing such, Jara says, puzzled, "But for the Lord's sake, how did you dispose of this big fish so quickly? Friend, with such voracity, you could easily swallow an entire sea monster. In the end, the big fish in the book of Jonah would be just fun, with one bite for your stomach?" Says Raphael, "And even thousands more such fish would be just fun for me to accommodate. Yet the one you handed me is enough. I really enjoyed it. I could have consumed it slowly like you, but would have made you think that I am a fully terrestrial man, and this would not be good for you, since you could fall in love with my persona, that is, my shape. But now in this instance I have demonstrated that I am not a complete Earthian yet, and you are startled, and therewith you easily stay in your track, and I in mine. You will live to see more such wilful bit on my part. I can get quite naughty at times, but my naughtiness is then based in wisdom." Says Jara, "This, however, I don't like. If you should want to achieve some good aim through naughty means, behold the Lord here, who alone is my only love. He can achieve every good aim without naughty means. Why not you? I maintain that the naughty shall always bring forth naughtiness, while good is brought forth only by good. Anyone wishing to achieve something good with me through something naughty is greatly mistaken, and were he 1,000-fold angel. This I tell you, that you better not start something naughty with me, or you can stay away from me. I am but a feeble maiden, and indeed just a worm compared to you. Yet God's love resides in my breast, and this tolerates nothing even seemingly naughty. Do you understand me, my dear Raphael?" Says Raphael, "Indeed so, this can still be understood. Therefore I well understand it. But that you did not understand my occasional naughtiness is evident from reprimanding me. Once you will have understood, you shall not be offended in me. So that you should see, however, that heavenly naughtiness can also be virtue, I shall amply clarify it to you with an example. Behold, we celestial spirits can see vast distances, and your thoughts does not reach so far as compared to what we can take in at a single glance most vividly. It can happen from time to time that, like on this earth, people become mischievous. We pull back a person from danger 100 times, but he itches to face the same danger. When none of this helps, then we allow such person to willfully confront such danger, allowing him to thoroughly run up against something, so as to utterly confound him for a lengthy period, and, chastised, he learns by letting go of his foolishness, becoming better through self-reform. Hence parents cannot warn their children often and strongly enough against play that frequently turns extremely dangerous. There we make our appearance with our heavenly naughtiness, causing such children to severely harm themselves at such forbidden games. And we indeed even sometimes to the length of letting such a child pay for the disobedience with its life, for deterring others. By this the children then take much fright at forbidden dangerous games, abandoning them. Then the adage becomes applicable. A burnt child fears fire. Once bitten, twice shy. Also with you, I have several times a few years ago applied a similar heavenly naughtiness, and it served you well, and afterwards becoming a really devout child. Well, what are you saying now to my naughtiness? Chapter 8. About love, gentleness, and patience. Says Jara in a low voice, a little affected. Now then, if so, it must be right, of course. If you had told me earlier, I would not have argued with you. If with the well-known untouchability of the freedom of the human will, by all kinds of gentle means, nothing can be accomplished, then of course nothing else can be done than to apply a more drastic means. Now, in time we will understand each other, and you only don't have to become so rough. If speaking softly, I like you very much, but if you almost get overexcited and rough with your words, then it is not good to listen to even the purest truth out of your mouth. Thus I think that in future all the even so perfect spirits of heaven should endeavour to speak like the Lord and Creator of all spirits, suns, worlds, and people. The Lord's voice, even in very serious matters, sounds always so soft, like the wool of a lamb, and his words flow like milk and honey. Therefore, every teacher and leader should act like him, because in a gentle voice, according to my opinion, lies always the biggest power. Whoever shouts and speaks loudly often offends where he wanted to heal. Look at the always friendly face of the Lord towards friend and foe, and who can be surprised if the sick are getting well, if he only looks at them? Hence, my dearest Raphael, you also must be like that in speech and deed towards me, and towards everybody. Then every of your steps on this earth will drip from blessings. Thereupon, I pull Jara to my chest and say to all who are present here, until now, this is my most perfect disciple to whom I truly can send my angels to school. For she has understood me the deepest and most vividly. Therefore she possesses my love to the fullest degree. Truly, if you go out and teach the nations in my name, then think about the words which this most beloved and tender little girl has now spoken to my angel, and your steps will be accompanied by all blessings. Be patient and in everything full of gentleness, and you will strew the fullest blessings into the hearts of the people. However, my angel Raphael had to speak like this, so that he enticed this, my most dearest Jara, to the given teaching. By the way, is he also gentle like soft cooling evening breeze, and as soft as the most tender wool of a lamb? All remembered these words well and completely agreed with them. Only the captain remarked and said, "This is all divine, pure and true, but if speak too gentle with my soldiers, I surely would make a bad figure and the soldiers would hardly listen to me. However, if I really start to flash and thunder, everything goes well and right." Say I, it is here not so much referred to an outer, but rather more to a truly inner gentleness. Where it is absolutely necessary to make wise use of the heavenly naughtiness, one should do so, since the actual rule of all wisdom is, be clever like snakes, but at the same time still gentle like doves. Says the captain with an exceedingly happy face, "Lord, now I have everything. Thus through all heavens the actions of a just are justified. However, at the same time one should also understand to make calculations, so that one does not miscalculate oneself with the supposed cleverness. And therefore I'm of the opinion of Euclid, that one should add to a certain measure of cleverness the same measure of love, patience and gentleness, and one will achieve an errorless result." Say I, yes, yes. As such, the calculation is put most correctly, and most blessed result is a complete certainty, and all justice and judgment will find therein its full justification. This is a foundation on which a building can be built. Hence, always lay such foundation before you want to build, and your efforts will not be in vain. You are out of God and therefore should also equal in everything. But God allows himself time to create. First there is the seed, from it the germ, from the germ grows the tree. It first drives buds, then leaves, then blossoms, and finally the good-tasting fruit, in which again the primordial seed is placed and matures in the fruit for further reproduction. How it takes place with a plant on a small scale, it also takes place with the whole world. The sun does not rise unannounced above the horizon, and a storm is always preceded by warning messengers which are always recognizable. If God himself most strictly and with the biggest patience and perseverance observes in all things such order of subsequent becoming to be, also you as my true disciples should follow me in everything what I have shown you, and wherefore I have paved for you the way, so that you should not get lost when making your own way. Do you all understand this well? Says the centurion, "Lord, I for my part have understood it all, and don't think there is anyone amongst us who did not understand these supralucent truths from the heavens. To you alone all thanks and honour." Say I, you are convinced that all those present have understood my words? They have indeed understood them, as well as that other one with his brain but not his heart. These words discomfited all those present, and the disciples asked who I had meant. But I said, "It's not yet time to proclaim such from the rooftops. But when such time comes, you shall well remember these my words. If, however, some among you harbour suspicions, then hold them fast in your heart, for no tree should be felled before its time. After these my words, the disciples discerned indeed that I had meant Judas Iscariot, but they kept silent and gave nothing away. Matthew and John, however, asked me whether to record such glorious doctrine for posterity. Say I, you might want for the present to merely summarize the doctrine on love, gentleness, and patience on a separate sheet, but not with that recorded already in the main book, for I shall still speak on the matter several times and indicate when you are to record it. But now we shall rest and practice some introspection again, such being a veritable celebration of the Sabbath in God. All in the house fell silent, following these my words, and we sat so for some 3 hours. Following which I said, the Sabbath is now accomplished, and we can also afford our limbs some necessary rest. Whereupon all took to the resting of the flesh, and it was late morning before we left our quarters. Chapter 9. The Lord's farewell and departure to Sidon and Tyre. Matthew chapter 15, verse 21. After the morning meal, we kept ourselves busy with all kinds of things, and I gave Ebal some agricultural rules along which he can work his fields, and how to treat his fruit gardens and vineyards, so that they always give him a rich harvest, which he surely always will use wisely. I showed Ebal how he could ennoble and increase the fruit, and taught him how to utilize several useful herbs, which have been used in the kitchen since then. I also showed him several root fruits, which he also could use as a good food, and also showed him the preparation of all this, the herbs as well as the roots. In short, during the subsequent 2 days which I still spent in Gennesareth, I taught Ebal still more things about agriculture, which previously no Jew ever knew about. I also taught him that he always could enjoy the meat of hares, rabbits, roe deers, and stags as a pure and good-tasting roast, if prepared in various ways, without becoming impure by it. But I also showed him when such animals should be caught and killed, and as such I still taught him quite a few things about which the honest Ebal was very pleased with. At the same time, I and my disciples built a small kitchen garden for Jarrah, planted in it all kinds of useful plants, herbs, and root plants, and instructed her to look well after this garden. She promised this to me under many tears of joy, and should I return soon, I shall see the garden in a blossoming state. And as such, everything in the house of Ebal was in the best order. And thus Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday passed with sundry useful ventures, and I made preparations for departure. But the centurion, Ebal, with his wives and children, with Jarrah among them, fervently beseeched me to tarry at their house for the night, whereupon I stayed till Wednesday morning. In the morning some of the shipmates came and related how the Gessarian Pharisees indeed had come the previous day, yet did not mention Psalm 47 by even one syllable, but inquired the more eagerly after me, accusing me of turning all Gessara away from Jerusalem. But that they, the shipmates, had given them no answer, but of a truth had taken the several silver pieces off them, which the Pharisees paid grudgingly and with cursing, thereafter again boarding their ship and journeying to Capernaum, probably to further scrutinize me, for which they were actually engaged by the temple, as well as Herod. Having listened to the sailors' faithful account, I commanded them to have the ship ready for departure in an hour, and the sailors went and did so promptly. But when Jarrah, who had gone to her little garden in the morning, on entering the room heard of my imminent departure, she began to cry disconsolately, begging whether I would not stay another hour. It would verily crush her heart to think that she is not going to see me again for God knows how long. But I comforted her, assuring her that she shall soon see me again, even physically, but to spiritually speak to me at any time whatever, and I would speak a most complete and clear answer. Besides that, the angel Raphael would be left with her in my place, visibly, who would guide her along the right path. This consoled the crying one. After which I blessed the whole Ebal house and departed for the sea, where the ship was tarrying for us. It is self-evident that the entire Ebal house and a great many other folk accompanied me out. The two Essenes and the several converted Pharisees and scribes, however, begged to be allowed to accompany me to my destination. But I said, "Let you remain, lest it all become somewhat too much for the world. For the birds have their nests, and the foxes their holes, but the Son of Man has not a stone fully his own to lay his head upon. Since, however, I own no worldly property, notwithstanding that a great throng of folk are in my train, they would begin to say, 'How does he feed them? He has no fields, meadows, and no herds. He is either a thief or some other low fellow.' To avoid such, remain here yourselves, and you Essenes go to your brethren, and tell them all that you have seen and heard. They shall change and become of a different mind. If summoned back to the temple nonetheless in order to inform on me to those striving after my life, then say nothing about all the works, but the more and openly about my doctrine. Fear not those who, in the most extreme case, can indeed kill your body, but can do no harm to the everlasting life of the soul. They shall nonetheless not attack you. If, however, they expel you, then go to the Essenes, who shall receive you with open arms." Says the centurion, "Oh, you might also abide with me. I shall make Romans out of you, giving you Roman apparel and sword, and you shall surely be left alone by the temple and its wicked servants." Say I to that, "Sure, sure, you can do that too. Be as clever as serpents and as gentle as doves, and thereby you shall be able to deal with the world most effectively." After these words I boarded the ship, together with my 20 disciples in all, and with favourable winds sped to the opposite shore in the direction of Sidon and Tyre. Matthew chapter 15, verse 21. Which cities nonetheless along the Mediterranean were still situated at considerable distance from the Sea of Galilee.